Okay. So we went through the welcomes and things like that. And I want to show you where you're going to access a couple things that are important to you. Now, this is my UMB portal. Okay. If you're in the School of Medicine, from what I understand, the portal looks a little differently. But this is my portal and most people's portal. Okay. So in the upper left-hand corner, you're going to see an icon that says Concur Travel and Expense. All right, that's where you start. Concur Travel and Expense is single sign-on using your UMID and password. So you should never be entering a password in a Concur screen. You should be entering your UMID and password through single sign-on. Let me click this. See that? This is exactly what it does. I muted myself accidentally. Great recording, sorry. Okay, you should be accessing Concur Travel and Expense from this icon, and you would not be entering your email and a password in a Concur screen. So let's say you are in this class and you're thinking, I do not have that icon, okay? If you do not have this icon, you are probably a non-employee or an affiliate, in which case you would need to fill out a user authorization form to get access to Concur. Non-employees are not going to get access to Concur. They're just not. You have to be an affiliate who is working for us and maybe being paid by FPI, for example. But you will not have a Concur icon if you are a non-employee. And if you are an affiliate, you'll need to fill out a form and then they'll create a profile for you. What's the difference? The difference is, do you get paid by UMB? If you get paid by UMB, you are on UMB's payroll, you're going to have this icon. If you work at UMB, but FPI is the one who cuts your check, you may not have this icon until you request access. Just something to keep in mind, and we can help you with all of that if that's the case. I'm going to scroll down a little bit, and here's a widget or a section called Training and Tutorials. Training and Tutorials. And my first link, it may be down farther for you, but my first link is Concur Travel and Expense System Tutorials. So if I click that, it opens up this page, which you already saw. Excuse me, I have to move this little bar at the top of my screen. It opens up this page, and here's all the courseware. So what I reviewed with you today, you can access it anytime by clicking that link to the Concur tutorials. Right? And here is all the documentation. Now I want to show you one more page that's really, really helpful. And this page is called the Business Applications page. Business Applications. Business Applications is the department that I work in. And we take care of all the software applications for UMB business. So I always get here I am at, whoops, sorry. Here I am on my University of Maryland, umaryland.edu, and up in the right-hand corner, I type in business applications and I search, and here's the page, business applications. I'm just going to click it. Welcome to business applications. Here's what we do. Now we have links over here for quantum financials, quantum analytics. And then this link is the one you're going to want. It's called Concur Travel and Expense. So if I click that link open, there's a lot of information here. How to get ready for Concur. I have to update this a little bit, but the links to the tutorials are located right here. You can sign up for training right here. There were some, informational sessions that went on. Okay, so let's go down to training, the training link. Here is a description of the roles. Like I mentioned, travel assistant role, approver role, being a traveler delegate. So these are descriptions of that. All the system tutorials are here, which I showed you. You can also get to them from the UMB portal. Then we have classes recorded. So at the end of March, when training was winding down before go live, I recorded create travel requests and I recorded create travel expense reports. Then we have short versions of this. One is called a traveler session and one is called an approver session. And these sessions were for the general public. And I'm not sure if they're still going on, but these are short, 30 minutes or 45 minutes long, and they walk you through the basic functions of creating travel requests, booking it. This is, trying to see how long this is. This is just under an hour. Okay. So take advantage of those. You can listen to those again. You know, let's say you're getting trained today and then it's a month before you actually have to use Concur. You can use the tutorials that I'm going to show you today, and you could also use the recording of the class, or you could use the traveler or approver sessions to help you. Then we have a couple job aids, common icons and buttons, and a glossary of terms from Concur. And then we have some helpful job aids. These are really one-page documents that are kind of a quick and dirty, how do I set up my profile, right? How do I choose and set up a delegate to do work for me? How do I set up a non-employee in Concur? Okay. Non-employees can travel, but they don't have automatic access to Concur like employees do. So you have to fill out a form, it'll get approved. There'll be a very basic profile for the non-employee set up. On that form that you fill out, you're going to say, non-employee Bill Smith, I'm going to be his delegate, and he's going to work in whatever org, right? And they'll create a profile for Bill Smith, and then you can create travel for that non-employee. So this is the business applications page under training. The next link is traveler and approver sessions. Yep, they just stopped last week, right? But they had all of these traveler sessions, and then there's one at the top that was recorded and a recorded approver session. Now I just want to show you briefly the FAQs. The last link on this page is FAQ. FAQ means frequently answered questions. So we've collected all of them in a PDF that you could download if you wanted. I'm just going to click to open that. Some people like to work from paper. Okay. I'm going to close that. But the FAQs have been broken into general Concur questions, questions about roles and access, and what is a delegate, and can a travel admin and a delegate be the same person? General questions. Where are the user authorization forms? Right? So those are general Concur questions. Then the next link is travel requests. And you click that link and it'll hop down to all the travel requests. Do I have to be a delegate to enter a travel request for a traveler? Here's how these links work. Scroll down, look at the questions, right? For non-employees, does the traveler have to submit or approve the travel request? Then if you click on the question, the answer appears. Okay, that's how those questions work. After travel requests, there's approving questions. What if there are fees on the expense report that weren't on the travel request, right? Pop it open. Should I return it to the traveler? Answer no. If the expense is allowable and the employee has receipts and an explanation, you can approve it. Okay. So there are questions, and you can see there are lots of questions for each class in Concur. Requests, approving, expense reports, and booking travel. I really want you to take advantage of these FAQs because, like I said, if you are questioning something as you're working or before you get started, chances are someone else asked that question also. Okay, any questions before we get started with the actual courseware? John?
Yes.
If you're able to kind of scroll through the participants and see if we have upwards of 20.
Okay.
Okay. I just, you
We
know,
have, we have 16 right now.
oh, well, we're good to go. Okay.
Yep.
Thanks, John. All right. So let's go create travel requests in Concur. A travel request really is just an authorization form that you are going to submit and ask for permission to travel. In your travel request form, you're going to be taking a very educated guess on what kind of expenses you'll have and how much each of those expenses will cost. Okay, so that's a travel request. If you had a travel request approved in the prior system and you printed it from the prior system, which was sunsetted on April 27th. So if you have an approved request that was sometime January, February, March, and now the travel needs to happen, you would book that travel outside of Concur and you would proceed right to the expense report. So that situation isn't going to go on forever because eventually we will consume all the kind of straggling approved travel requests that were created in the prior system. What I'm teaching you in this travel request class is how to create these travel requests in Concur. So first, let's start with an in-state travel request form. In-state travel requests sometimes do not need prior approval. We're going to create a travel request for a conference in Frederick, Maryland, and we're going to add expense types that are appropriate for that in-state 2-day trip. Even if you have a day trip, if you are driving to DC and staying overnight, you need an approved travel request form. If you're driving to Southern Maryland and staying overnight for 2 days, you haven't gone out of state, but if you're staying overnight and you have a hotel or car, you have to have an approved travel request form for in-state travel. Okay, so let's see how this is done. We just went over most of this. Travel requests route for approval. So there's a workflow behind the scenes. What does that mean? That means I'm going to travel, I create my request, I submit it, and it's going to immediately go to the travel administrator attached to my department. Remember, my department is business applications. So it's going to route to the person who is the travel administrator for my department. She's going to look over, he or she will look over the request, and they'll determine basically if I followed policy or not, right? If my travel request is within policy. So they review it. The travel administrator reviews it to make sure that it is in compliance with policy and procedure. When that travel administrator approves that travel request, it goes next to my timesheet supervisor. And my timesheet supervisor looks it over and says, can I have Laura afford to be gone that week? Right? So they look at it for absence and time management. Yes, Laura has permission to go from a department point of view. After that, it routes to a cost center approver, or what we used to call a financial approver in my department. And that cost center approver is going to look at it and say, yes, I have the money to send her on this trip. Okay, so every travel request form routes the exact same way. Now, if I have an international trip, the travel administrator will get it. They'll say yes or no. If they approve it and it's an international trip, it will route to the international group next. If the country of travel has a risk rating of 3 or higher. Okay, so that's for the international group to say, hey, why is she going to, I don't know, Nigeria when there's a massive civil war going on? That risk level is a 5. Okay, so it follows the same approvers each time, but depending on what's in the travel request, it could also have an international approver. And if you break some of the rules for compliance, it could also go to one additional approver after the cost center. And that additional approver is the CBFO of Finance and Administration. It's Dawn Rhodes. So I don't know about you, but when Dawn Rhodes hears my name, I want it to be complimentary, not like, oh, look, Laura broke another travel rule, so to speak. All right. So, but these do route for approval. There are some in-state travel expense reports that don't require a request, and that is simply you drove somewhere and you came back. And a lot of those are mileage. If you think about some of the trips that people take on campus, there are people who spend most of their week driving to different clinics, right? It's not overnight. They didn't rent a car. They don't need a travel request. They can simply put in an expense report for the mileage. Okay, but some of the very typical in-state expense types that we use and Concur are mileage, hotel if it's overnight, conference fees, parking, maybe a day travel meal, per diem if you stayed overnight, taxis. If you use an Uber or Lyft, it just goes under the taxi expense type. And then we have tolls, right, or fuel charges. So these are all very typical of an in-state travel request. Okay, one of the first screens that you're faced with asks you an important question. How will you book your trip? There are 4 choices, and we are having some difficulty with these choices. People making the wrong choice and then have to kind of undo what they did. So we put this screen in here to help everyone. Agent assist. How will you book your trip? The booking type, agent assist, tells the system the traveler is going to use the UMB travel agent to book travel. Okay. Book and Concur. The traveler is going to use the Concur booking tool for booking travel. Exception booking. Traveler is requesting permission to book outside Concur as a departure from policy. This, if you choose exception booking, your request will route to Dawn Roads. No booking. In other words, I don't need to book any travel services. And when I say travel services or travel segments, I am talking about rental cars, hotels, flights, and trains. Okay. Rental cars, hotels, flights, and trains. You would also use no booking if another entity is paying for all the travel, right? So let's say I'm invited to speak somewhere and they booked my flight for me and they booked my hotel. And really, all I'm going to have is mileage down to the airport and some airport parking, right? And per diem. I would use no booking because someone else is paying for the segments that create a booking: hotel, flights, train, or car. Does that make sense to you all? You can say, yes, UMB is paying for part of this travel, but you could also say, I'm not going to have a booking in Concur. Michelle, did you have a question?
I do. So for instance, if I book for Dr. Moss, who's going to a conference that she was invited to in DC, she drove down for the day, did the 2 hours at the conference, and drove back, and they are covering all expenses. I do not have to put in a travel request or expense anything, correct? Because she didn't stay overnight.
Yes, you're
Okay.
right.
All right.
Now, for security reasons, and John, you can help me out for this, but sometimes we want a travel request just to know where people are for security reasons, right? It doesn't
Right.
hurt anything to have have a travel request. John, go ahead, explain
Right,
that.
but if there are no expenses coming from UMB and it's just the DC and it's not an overnight, you're not renting a car or anything, they can just file an expense report for the mileage down and back. That would be the
Yep.
easiest way to do it.
Okay, but if she doesn't want
Yes.
to, if she's not worried about it because they're actually giving her a certain amount,
Okay.
so everything will be covered by then, then
That-
she doesn't need to, I don't have to worry about it.
Right, they're traveling on their dime, so that's good for UMB.
Okay, just wanted to confirm.
Yep.
Yes, good question.
Thank
We
you.
welcome questions. And think about it. I could choose no booking and maybe I drove out of state. Maybe the conference that they're paying for me to go to is in Pennsylvania and they're paying for the hotel and they're paying the conference fees. And all I'm really going to have is mileage. I could create the travel request to have everybody know where I'm going. And I could select no booking because I'm not booking anything, right? They're paying for things that need to be booked. But I would like to have a travel request to say, hey, I'm going out of state. I'm just going to Philly, but it's out of state. And I'm going to have the mileage down and back and a day meal, right? So you have to kind of think about the situation you're in. That's what's important. When I say stuff to you like all airfare must be booked in Concur, I'm not talking about airfare that some other entity booked, right? The university in Philadelphia or the medical institution in Philadelphia is booking and paying for me, right? So you have to think about the situation that you're in when you are applying a booking type. Book and Concur is required if UMB is paying and you are using a flight, right? If you're taking an airplane and UMB is paying for it, you have to choose either Book and Concur or Agent Assist. Okay, that is the travel policy. and your doctors or people you support might not like it, but they're going to jeopardize their reimbursement. Okay. If you create the travel request and you select no booking because your doctor said, I'm booking my own flights, and I'm not picking on doctors, but just somebody you support says, I'm booking my own flights. I want to get my points. I want to choose when I go, etc. Well, you can do all that same stuff. You can choose it in Concur, or the agent assist can help you. But if they just go outside of Concur, book their flights, and then hand you the receipts for the flights, they really are jeopardizing their reimbursement. Because Dawn Rhodes has said, excuse me, I need everyone to mute, please. Thank you. Thanks for that. I have to mute somebody. 1 second, please. They're going to be jeopardizing their reimbursement because Dawn Rhodes has said she's going to make very few exceptions. Okay. And we don't want people to be disappointed.
Right.
All they
Hey,
have
Laura,
to do, yes.
just one quick note on that. When it goes to Dawn Road, she is not looking for, is it costing us $100 or is it costing us 5,000? She's looking at, did we break, did we go against the travel policy of UMB? And is it going to be an audit issue? The year before we started Concur, I think Susan had run a total of 1,900, somewhere between 1,500 and 1,900 travel requests had gone in after the fact. And it's going to be an audit issue. The legislative audit or the state auditors are going to come in and say, you're breaking your own policy. Why are you breaking your own policy? So that is what's driving this, not the dollar figure or anything. It is
That's right.
And policy is we have to have a travel request prior to any UMB travel, with the exception
Yes.
the in-state issue that we just talked about.
Yes, and I'm glad that you mentioned that, but here's the other thing. Concur does not let you create a travel request after the fact.
Correct.
You know, you could have in the system that we just got done using, you could create a travel request after someone had traveled, and you can't do that anymore. So if you are supporting people who do a lot of travel, you're going to have to, help us educate the masses and say, I can't backdate a travel request. You don't have a travel request. You're handing me receipts. I'm going to go ahead and put in your expense report, and, hopefully Dawn approves it. That's just the way it is now. Sherilyn, did you have a question? I saw someone's hand go.
Yes, I'm sorry. Yes, I'm actually putting my question in the chat, but if you want to take it now, I can ask you the question now.
Sure.
Under what is needed from us if a traveler chooses to use the UMB travel agent to book their travel?
You would put in a request. Good question. You would put in a request and you would get it approved. And then you could send the traveler that approved travel request number.
Okay.
Okay. You can send it to the traveler. The traveler can call the travel agent and say, can you book my flights to wherever? And the travel agent is going to say exactly this. What is the ID number of your approved travel request? And then if you say, I don't have one, they say, thanks for calling. Have a nice day. They will not create one without an approved request. Good question. Now, we've also had it happen where people chose book and concur, and then the traveler said, I'd really just rather use the travel agent. Okay, you have to recall the request, and you have to change the booking type. Because when you say book and concur, concur is sitting there waiting for the approval, and the next step is pending concur booking. And you can't get past that step, right? So you would have to open it and switch to Agent Assist, for example. The only other thing I'm going to say about booking types is that we have a lot of people using exception booking right now incorrectly. This says travelers requesting permission to book outside Concur as a departure from policy. This exception booking was added to Concur to account for major emergencies, right? I'm a doctor, I'm running a study, I have students in a foreign country working on this study, something bad happened, I have to get there tomorrow, I don't have time to put in a travel request, get it all the way approved, then book in Concur, then go. That might be a 3-day process. Okay, exception booking is really for emergencies. If you are a travel admin and a request comes to you and the traveler has chosen exception booking, you need to be asking them, what's the emergency? And I'm not trying to be rude about it, but what people are using exception booking for is, I don't feel like booking in Concur. I'm not kidding either. So if you are someone approving and you see exception booking come through, you're reviewing the request, you need to say, not liking Concur is not a valid exception reason. Now, trains, we were booking trains in Concur. Everybody was having a hard time with it. The travel agent had a hard time with train bookings. So we just said, you know what, we're removing train and you can go to Amtrak and you can book a train by yourself. No harm done. So any train booking now, you would select no booking as the booking type. If someone, let's say, is taking the train up to New York City for the day, you would select no booking and then you would just go ahead out onto Amtrak and book that train. Now you're thinking, this is way too much for a travel request. Well, this system is built on rules, and the prior system let you, a lot of workarounds, and this system won't let you do that. So I want you to be prepared and understand why some of the things are happening. Okay, here is my home screen. Michelle?
I'm sorry, I have a very unique situation. I actually have a full-time position with the hospital that I support one physician, and I have a contract position that I support his wife, who is the UMB staff member who I do her travel for through this.
Okay.
And prior to Concur happening, basically they would do, like you said, they would book their flights together because they travel. They're both transplant physicians and researchers. So they would both be going to this conference. He would book the flights. When it came back for her reimbursement, because he doesn't process reimbursement through UMB. So just for her, I would then submit her portion of it, and he would just give me all the flight information and such. So now I'm actually waiting to hear from the travel agent. I booked them. They're going to a conference in San Diego in the beginning of June. So I put the travel request in for her. I chose the travel agent option when I took the booking type because I don't know how to do it so that they're both booked on the same flight, but only her flight gets charged to, the UMB card, but I also need to pay for him. So for this, should I be making them book it different? Should I be looking at him and go, okay, book your own flight on here, or can I do it through the travel agency?
No, you did the right thing with the travel agent. Yeah.
Okay.
And we have a lot of people who travel in pairs. We have professor and student, we have husband and wife. Sometimes we have, one person traveling with his family, right? So these people want to all be on the same flight. So the best thing to do is have the travel agent do that.
Okay, and then they'll be able to take her approval where it shows that she can do it, put it through the UMB payment system, and then I can just provide them with a separate credit card for the other tickets?
Yes.
Okay, great.
Yep.
Thank you.
Good question. All right, so let's get started. This is in-state travel. I'm going to click new, and I'm going to click start a request. This is what it looks like. I actually made my screen a little bit bigger a minute ago, and now it seems too big. Okay, so this is called the header. The header has to be completed before you can move on to the line items. So over in request policy, you will see that it defaulted to travel request. If you had a business expense, like a, paper, postage, you would click this drop down and you would select business, okay? But if defaults to travel. Any field with a small red asterisk, any field needs to be completed or you can't continue. So now we have, how will you book your trip? I'll click the drop down and I'll select no booking. And remember, when I say no booking, I mean no car, no airfare, no hotel, and no train. Okay. So I'm going to select no booking. The request name, we have some naming conventions we want you to follow. These came out of the Office of the Controller. I'm going to enter this here. Okay, so look at the naming convention. TA, travel authorization, 2022 calendar year, not fiscal, calendar year. LP, the initials of the doctor, right? Or me, this happens to be me, LP. And then for domestic, you would put the city. For international, you would put the country. Okay, so TA 2022 initials and the city. All right. Now I'm going to enter my trip start date, and I can do this by just typing in or use the calendar. So I'm going to use the calendar and select December 5th. And then I have a trip end date, and I'll use the calendar again, and I'll select the 6th. This happens to be a 2-day trip where I drive down and I come back home. Trip purpose. You can click the drop down and there are a lot of purposes here. You can see that there is a scroll bar, right? This just happens to be a conference, so I'll select the conference. You should select the one that most closely applies, okay? Then for the trip type, I have in-state, out-of-state, and international. So I'll select in-state. The traveler type is really about the employee or non-employee. What kind of employee or what kind of non-employee? So for employees, we have faculty, staff, student, or we have other, and other's a category that would be residents, postdocs, trainees, things like that. For non-employee travel, we have 2, student non-employees and other. So you're just going to click the drop down and you're going to select the one that applies. In this case, faculty. Over in main destination city, you can click in the field and then you can start typing. All right. And as you type, the system, can you see this Fredericksburg, Virginia on the bottom? As you type, the system starts finding locations that match Frederick. So I'm going to scroll down and select Frederick, Maryland. And when I do that, the United States defaults into the country field. In this box that says describe the benefit to UMB, I'm going to type validate research. But many people have said, we won't get ours approved in our department unless we really tell why we're going, etc. Okay. This is only, I think, 48 characters. So what you can do is come to this additional information field and continue describing the benefit to UMB. Does this trip include personal travel? Click the drop down, yes or no. All right. Is UMB paying for any portion of this travel? Yes, if the travel's paid by UMB and funded by any UMB source, like an award, a sponsored project, or a revolving account. Select no if a third party, like your conference organizer, is directly paying for all portions of travel. So let me ask the class, what would I select if the conference organizer is paying for my hotel flight and conference fees, but I need mileage to the hotel and I need parking at mileage to the airport and parking at the airport? Would I select yes or no? Maya, is that how you pronounce your name? Yes, you guys are right. I would select yes. Okay. All right. Now, here's the fun part. We scroll down and we have to identify the funding source. This can be a sponsored project or it can be a SOAP-F. When you first come into this screen, you're going to see most likely the word SOAP-F written here. This is text. Okay. So I can erase that and I can start typing a project number 10012194. And when I enter a project number, instead of that word SOAP-F, all the accounting segments attached to that project should default in the fields. All right. What you're going to see if you come in here and this says SOAP-F, what you're going to see is a purpose number that is a dummy number, 55555555. So if you look at this, this is the Travelers Payroll Home SOAP-F, right? With the purpose changed to all fives. And we call this a travel clearing account. The travel clearing account is based on the payroll clearing account for your home department. And the travel clearing account always has all fives. If you forget to change this, you just glance at this and say, yeah, that's my home SOAP-F, and you don't change it. Hopefully someone who's an approver looks at this header and says, we can't charge a clearing account. This is wrong, and rejects it. So this has to be changed. All right. You see how these fields have a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6? You have to go in exactly that order. Sorry to say, you have to do these in numerical order, and that's why they're numbered. So if I click in this SOAP-F field, after I've been working a while, the system is going to store the most recently used options. So here's one at the bottom that is a SOAP-F for my department. These three at the top, can you see the difference? These three at the top start with a project number. So this is a project number plus that project's SOAP-F. See that? All right, in this example, I'm going to select a SOAP-F that I used before. And you can see how these fields have all changed now. Let's say I looked at this source and said, oh no, that shouldn't be 105, that should be 205. That's fine, I can change it just in this field. If I'm entering this manually, I have to go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. Okay, and remember, this is most likely always going to say SOAP-F in words for you. And if you need to charge a project, you delete SOAP-F and you enter the project number. Okay, I'm done with my header. It takes a lot longer to talk about it than it actually takes you to do these things. I'm going to click Create Request. Now the request is created, but it's blank. And it says no expected expenses yet. So I'm going to add the expenses that I think I'm going to have. We do this through the use of expense types. An expense type equals an expense object code for travel. That's exactly what it is. Only you are entering the verbiage, you're selecting the name of the expense type. In the background, it is attached to the appropriate expense object code. Let's see how that goes. I'm going to click add, and I'm going to select personal car mileage. Now we have this beautiful thing in Concur called a mileage calculator, and you have to use this. Have to, okay? Don't go out to a third-party website and, Google Maps or, and do your mileage. So you're just going to click the link to mileage calculator, okay? Once you have your profile settings set up, like your home address and your work address, they will default into the mileage calculator for you. All right, but you're just going to enter a starting point and an ending point. Okay, and it's 47.5 miles from this location down to Frederick, Maryland. Now I'd like to make it a round trip. So, and you can see on the map, right? You can see right on the map the route that it's plotting out for you. Then you can click make it a round trip. That link will make it a round trip, and it's a little shorter on the way back because it took this little straight instead of the jog, etc. Okay? Now, you need to deduct your commute. You need to deduct your commute. So, way down on the bottom in the lower left-hand corner, there is a deduct commute button, and you'll click it, and the system will say, okay, from your house on Hereford Road to your office on North Arch Street, I'm going to click this button that says deduct a round trip. So when I clicked deduct commute, the system said, here's the commute I see right now from your house on Hereford Road to your office. And then I'm going to click this button that says deduct it round trip. And now my mileage is 85.5 miles round trip without the 13.8 miles that were my commute. See how easy that is? I know sometimes people don't like me to call things easy, but when they're first learning it, but really you're just going to add point A to point B, and you're going to say, make it a round trip if it's a day trip down and back. Then you're going to click deduct commute, and the system is going to look in your profile settings and say, well, here's Laura's address and here's her office. So I'll deduct, 6 point something miles, and then I'll make it a round trip. And now I have accurate mileage. So all I have to do at this point is click this button, add mileage to expense. And it added the personal car mileage expense type at $56.33. Now, I drove down on day 1 and back, and on day 2, I'm going to drive down and back. It's the exact same trip. So in that case, I can take the 86 miles total, and I can multiply it by 2. And this is the only time you should be doing something like that, okay? Oh, and look, there's that object code that I mentioned. So you can see how an expense type that is just a name of an expense type really is going to be charged to object code 3311 in expense account. All right. So in the distance, I'm going to delete the 86. And I'm going to type in 172 because that's my round trip for 2 days. And then in the comments, I'm going to say round trip times 2 days. Okay? And then I'll click save. So there's my first expense type. The mileage is $107. This mileage calculator is hooked up to the government rates. So let's say, for example, this last January, there was a slight increase. This increased without anyone touching it. You yourself would never have to calculate mileage. It runs off the GSA. All right, I'm going to add another expense type, and this time it's parking. So I'll click parking, and I'm going to enter $44 because the conference hotel is parking $22 a day. So then I'm going to add a note that says conference parking 2 days. Okay. And I'll save it. I'm going to add another expense type, and this time it's for the lunch I'm going to eat both days. We're going to a conference and they only agreed to, you know, provide a continental breakfast, and you're on your own for lunch. So I'm going to click add, and I'm going to scroll down, and you can see that these expenses are in different sections. So in the meals section, I'm going to select day travel. And the amount is $22 because I'm guessing, you know, like, oh, okay, I guess I'll spend $10 a day on lunch. All right. And then I'm going to enter a reason that I'm adding a day travel meal, lunch not provided. I think the policy is if you're in a state of travel for more than 8 hours and in state, you can claim a travel meal, right? And then I'm just going to click save. Okay, I'm going to add the next thing that I think I'm going to spend money on. So I'll click add, and I'm going to scroll through these expense types, and I'm going to find tolls, and I'll click to select tolls. And then for me, it's $3 down to BWI and $3 home. Okay, and I'm doing that 2 times, or I'm sorry, not BWI. That's a bad example. But let's say I have to pass a toll, right, twice, and I'm driving there 2 days. So I'm going to enter $12 and then enter tolls, $6 per day, and then save it. Now I'm going to add the conference and the workshop expense. I'll click add, and I scroll down, and in this section called other, there's conference workshop registration fees. Now, when you open this expense type, besides just adding an amount, you have to answer a couple questions. Is this conference available virtually? You're going to say yes or no. Does that mean you can't, does that mean if there's a virtual option, you shouldn't be going there? No, that's not what it means. Excuse me. They made this optional question available who might choose to require an explanation for in-person attendance at conferences that were available virtually. Excuse me one. Sorry, I had to cough. Okay. So in the drop down, is this conference available virtually? I'm going to select no. In the explanation, I'm going to just put an explanation of why I'm attending: brain science, research. Expected payment method. Okay. Now, the payment methods that you will see on each expense type are the ones that are allowable by policy. So if this was airfare, you would not see P card, for example, right? But I'm going to click the drop down, and the expected expense types are out of pocket, P card, and then there's a new one called third party. And that's for, let's say, the organizer paying for my attendance at the conference. For this one, I'm just going to select out of pocket, and then I'm going to enter the amount of the registration fees, and then I'll click save. Okay, I just built my trip. You can delete one of these by clicking the checkbox and selecting delete. Let's say you realized, oh, $22 a day, I need probably $20 each day for lunch. you could just click right on day travel meals and you could change it. Okay. There's lots of ways to edit or manage the data that you put in. Now you're going to attach the conference agenda and the any attachment that actually supports where you're going. You can click this attachments and you'll get a pop-up screen, and the screen will just say upload attachment, and you'll find it on your hard drive and you'll attach it just like any other attachment in software. The one thing I will caution you though is that attachments, each attachment can't be more than 5 megs individually. Okay, each attachment cannot be more than 5 megs individually. The software just won't store it. All right. Now I'm going to click submit request. I'm going to get an accept and continue button. I'm just going to read this blurb. This is true and accurate estimation of expenses that will be incurred to accomplish official business, etc. I acknowledge that any request for expense reimbursement has to be within 60 days of my return date, etc. So I'll click accept and continue, and then I'm done. And you can see that I have a tile that says LP in-state brain conference, for example, right? For my request. It takes a lot to explain the first one, but once you're used to using expense types, these are easy to build, easier than, you know, your first time looking at it. John, do we have any outstanding questions?
No, I just put a clarification in the chat about the trip to DC. Maryland and DC are considered in-state. If they were driving to Pennsylvania, it's completely different because that's considered out of state, and you would need a request, even if UMB would not be paying any part of the mileage, the meals, anything like that. That's considered out of state. Would need to put that in. Or New Jersey, thing that is outside of Maryland, DC.
That's right. Maryland and DC are considered in-state. Thank you. Okay, let's do an out-of-state travel request. If you have airfare for out-of-state, you either have to select Book and Concur or Agent Assist, and don't select exception booking just because the person you're doing the work for says, I'm not using Concur to book. All I can tell you is that when you book in Concur, it looks exactly like Expedia or Southwest or Delta. It has all the same flights. There's no good reason not to use it, okay? If you use the travel agent, we do incur a fee, right? I think it's a $5 fee to book in Concur, and it's maybe a $29 fee to use the travel agent. But if you want to make sure that you have some backup. Let's say you have a trip, out-of-state trip, and you're going to 2 different states before you come home. The travel agent can very seamlessly book all that for you. And also, if the travel agent has booked your flights, you can always call them and say, I got bumped off my flight, what can you do? And they can rearrange your travel, okay? Now you can't book a train in Concur anymore. We just shut that down last week because of all the issues we were having with it. All out-of-state business travel requires pre-approval using a Concur request. And you need to get these approved at least 1 day before the trip. Okay? You are not going to be able to book a trip the day of the trip. Concur's going to say, sorry, right? So it's not like me sitting at home. I could try to get on a flight tonight, you know, on Southwest. You need to be approved in time to book. All right. We went all through these booking types. Again, please educate your travelers Exception booking is really dire consequences if you don't travel or it's an emergency situation, okay? All right. In this scenario, we're going to create a 2-day trip to Cleveland to recruit a research assistant in the School of Pharmacy. So what would you expect to see on a travel request? You would expect to see air, hotel, taxis from the airport or getting around the city, and per diem. Okay. So I'm going to click new and start a request. And again, the request policy says travel request. We'll just leave it alone. How will you book your trip? Click the drop down, book in Concur. What is the trip name? I'm going to use the naming convention, and the city is Cleveland. The trip start date, you could just type, 06/01/2023, whatever the date is. I'm going to just use the calendar, scroll through and select December. And then for the end date, I'm going to scroll through and select again in December. The trip purpose, there are a lot of them. Here's recruiting. Pick the one that best matches your circumstances. The trip type would be what? Out of state, right? So I'll click the drop down and I'll select out of state. And then we went over these traveler types. So I'm going to click the drop down and I'm going to select faculty. All right. And now in the main destination city, I'm just going to start typing Cleveland. And you can see Cleveland is one of my most recently used. But I want to tell you that when you type a city in here, there's like a 1 second, 2 second delay while the system pulls everything that matches Cleveland. And then if it's not in one of your recently used, like this example, it's going to be below this line. So you would need to scroll down and find Cleveland, Ohio. Okay. All right. When I say Cleveland, the system says, okay, United States. And then in the benefit to UMB, I'm just going to type recruiting research assistant. Scroll down a little bit. Does this trip include personal travel? For this, the answer is no. Is UMB paying for any portion of this travel? Click the drop down. Yes. Scroll down a little farther. And here is that travel clearing account. Okay. And that word in the first field, SOAP F. If you're charging a project, erase the word SOAP F and enter a project number. Okay. And then if this is blank, let's say you're creating a travel request for a non-employee. A non-employee doesn't have a payroll clearing account for their home department, do they? They don't have any payroll, anything, right? So these would all be blank and you would have to enter them manually 1 through 6. Okay. I'm going to leave the word SOAP-F in place, and I'm going to start with the org. So I'll click in the org field, and I'm going to select this whole string of most recently used. This is a SOAP-F. That is, it's rearranged a little bit differently. All right, so I have the SOAP-F here. If I want to make comments to my approver, I can write a comment in here. Okay. And then I'll click create request. All right, what are we going to do next? We're going to add expense types. So I'm going to click add, and then I'll click hotel reservation. And the hotel reservation basically right now is not a real, there's no hotel identified. Okay. On a request, we're not saying, can I please stay at the Ritz-Carlton? We're just saying, can I have a hotel for 2 days? That's all we're asking. So the check-in and the checkout day have been provided for me. And I'm just going to enter 3 p.m. check-in. And I'm going to enter the hotel that I think I'm staying in. However, I may not know, right? This is just a request. For checkout, I'm going to enter 11 a.m. because basically that's when everyone checks out, right? And I could enter a comment again, but I want to point out this expected payment field. For hotels, the methods of payment are going to be third party, P card, and out of pocket, because that's what's allowed for hotels. So if I click this drop down, it's exactly what I see: out of pocket and P card. Now here are 4 expected payment methods that are on requests. Out of pocket, traveler is paying. P card, charged to a UMB purchasing card. TMC card, TMC is for the travel management company. So we gave Travel Leaders Corporation, who is our travel assistant, they are our travel agency, we gave them a MasterCard, and they have it on file. So if your booking type is agent assist, you could use TMC card because it'll be being paid for by the card that's on file with the travel agency. Does that make sense? And third party means this expense is going to be paid by someone else entirely. All right, I'm going to select out of pocket for this. And then I'm going to take a guess that the hotel costs $500. Scroll up, look it over, and I'll just click save. All right. Now, is the hotel exactly $500? No. You want to get close to it though, because at the end of your travel request, you're actually going to have an approved amount. Once it's all the way through approval, you will have an approved amount. And while the actual travel will be different, you know, a hotel is not going to cost exactly $500. You want to do the best you can with your approval so that the expenses, the expense report is not wildly different than the request. I'm going to click add, and I'm going to add my air ticket. It says air ticket. It means airfare. Do you see this one below it? Airline fees. Airline fees are luggage, you know, other things, right? Airline fees. So I'm going to select air ticket. Now I have a choice at the top: round trip, one way, or multi-city. We don't demonstrate multi-city, but it's very easy to do. Look at what's on my screen: outbound, from, to; return, from, to, right? So when I pick multi-city, I just get a whole nother row of this. And I could say from Baltimore to Philly, then I could say from Philly to Miami, and then I could say from Miami back to Baltimore. Okay, so multi-city just adds another section for you to use. All right, I'm going to say that I'm traveling from BWI to Cleveland. And as you type the city name, all the airports that match will come up. So I'm going to select Hopkins. I want to depart about 7 a.m., but I'm guessing. Expected payment method. See that TMC card? Sometimes you're going to hear this called the ghost card. Why? Because we never see it. It's on file with the Travel Leaders Corporation. But this is what TMC means. And TMC is really used for airfare and say rail travel. But I'm going to click the drop down and select out of pocket. For the return, I'll enter a time that I want to return. And for the expected payment method, I'm going to add out of pocket. Now I'm going to stop right here and tell you what this means, this out of pocket. This out of pocket on the request, when you are done with your travel and you're doing an expense report, you have to be careful on the expense report because this expense type will be pulled from the request into the expense report, and it might say something that's not right, right? Maybe it says out of pocket, and in the end, a travel agent booked this for me and it went on the TMC card. So you always have to be mindful of these payment method fields, that they are actually reflecting how that travel got paid. Out of pocket, when the system sees out of pocket, it says, oh, okay, I'm going to put that in Dr. Smith's paycheck, right? And so let's say it was a hotel and it was paid by P card. And on the expense report for Dr. Smith, you entered out of pocket. And now there's a double charge. All right. I'm just pointing it out to be careful.
Hey, Laura, real quick
Okay.
question on that
Sure.
in the chat. If you're paying with a card that belongs to FPI or an outside party outside of UMB, do we select third party? Instead of out of pocket, it would be third party, correct? That would be foundation. That
It would be third party. Yes.
Yes. Okay. I'm going to
So
put,
out of pocket means it's going back in your pocket.
yep.
And if it got paid by FPI, that's a good example, John, whoever asked that question. Yeah, so, you know, FPI could have a charge card, and when you do not need to be reimbursed, think about that. Do I need the money back or not? That's the sticking point. Did I pay, and do I need that reimbursement? And if you don't need the reimbursement, it would be one of the other payment methods, or it might be third party in the case of what Christopher just brought up. Good question. Okay, I filled this out. This is very basic. I put in 450 for the flight there and back, and I'll just click save. Okay, now you can see that wherever I made a comment on any expense type, there is a blue comment box, right, across from that. And you can also see how the system's adding up the expenses. I'll click add, and I'm going to scroll down, and I'm going to select taxi. So you can use this taxi expense type for Uber and Lyft also. So I'll click taxi, and then the amount I'm going to enter is 120 because I'm just not sure. You know, last time I was in Cleveland and I took a cab from the hotel to the Cleveland clinic, it was about 50 bucks, etc. Okay. So I'm going to guess 120 if I do that twice. So I'm just going to explain in the comments why I need $120. Taxi from the airport to the hotel and back. This is my estimate. And then I'll click save. I'm going to add another expense type. Click add. I'm going to scroll down and find per diem. Okay. You add the per diem expense type, and the system says, I know exactly how much money your per diem is to stay in Cleveland for those 2 days. So I'll select per diem. There's really nothing for me to enter, right? I'm in the destination city. I'm in Cleveland. I could make a comment if I needed to, but in general, you're going to add this expense type and then just click save. So I'm going to click save, and here's the magic. Oh, it threw a line in with the total per diem for those 2 days, $172.50. All right. On the expense report, when you are adding per diem later after the travel, the system knows that the first and last day of travel are at 75% and it calculates that correctly. All right, so you can continue to add expense types. You might have parking, you might have mileage. You might always take, like an airport shuttle that's $36 from your house. You can add that. Whatever else you think you're going to spend money on, continue adding it. Just click add and add an expense type. Okay, and look at what I did. This is a completed one. It's got parking at the airport. It's got a business meal. Now, a business meal in general is really added when you are having dinner with someone who's not a UMB employee. If two people go to Cleveland and they're both UMB employees and they eat dinner together, that just goes toward their per diem, right? So a business meal is really, I'm entertaining these two recruits, right? I had dinner twice, $70 each. I'm expecting, or I'm going to take 2 or 3 recruits out to lunch at different times. And so you're just adding a business meal. Remember, a business meal is typically with a non-UMB party. All right, then you can click this attachments link and you can add any attachments that you need to add. Okay, I'm going to click add attachment, click attach documents. This is what it looks like. It's so easy, you don't need to teach it. I'm going to click the upload button. Right, I'm going to find a receipt or a brochure or whatever else I'm doing. Select it, and then you can see that there's a piece of paper there, right? You can see how that attachment link changed to include this small piece of paper icon. If you need to look at it again, you can just click right on it, and instead of attach documents, you can use a link that says view the documents. All right, and then you can just click submit request, read your acknowledgement agreement, and continue. Any questions before we move on?
Laura, out of curiosity, just because I try to save as many steps as I possibly can, if they're not seeking the reimbursement, can we leave an expense off, or are we required to put it on there and pick third-party payer for every single thing?
Well, that's a good question. I mean, they want you to account for the expense, and you could leave it as 0 for third party. So here's an example of why. Let's say a professor and a student went to the same event, or the professor took 2 students, and the professor booked their train tickets, right? Now, he's going to claim that he took 2 students he's the one getting reimbursed for 3 tickets. But let's say then they go to check the student's expense report and the students don't have any train fare on there at all. See what I'm saying?
Okay.
So there is a good reason to add an expense type, even if it's 0. So now in a request, I don't know, John, do you have anything else any other light to shed on that? Go ahead.
Well, the cost center approvers are going to look at what the expense was for that trip. It might be $1,500 per person, but the professor's getting reimbursed for most of it. If you put all of the expenses in there, when you go to that same conference next year, you have a reference point at that, to go back and take a look at that expense report and what did it cost? If you leave things off of there, you're only getting partial information then. And, you might think it only cost $600 to go to that conference, yet with all the reimbursements that were done by a third party, it really costs $1,500, but the third party's not covering it this year. It's just a good reference to go back and capture everything in one place.
Well,
That's a great example.
I think the charges probably actually vary from year to year sometimes too, especially with how expensive things have gotten now, because even the conferences that I've seen her go to are much more expensive than in previous years. So I don't know if that would necessarily be true, but I'm only asking because when they do this, when they actually get the conference to, when they're reimbursing them, we have to do double work. So we have to submit everything to you that you're paying for. And then we also have to submit reimbursement to them and fill out paperwork for them. So I'm trying not to have to do twice the amount of work and submit everything through UMB. And then I'm going to have to go back and fill out the proper form and online thing for the conference to then submit for what they're actually paying for. So that's why I was asking, because it's like I have to do double
Right.
work and enter twice as much, where if it's not necessary, I'd rather not. I'd rather only have to submit for what she's asking for reimbursement for. If it's required, I can't get around it. But if I don't
Right.
have to do it, I don't want to have to do it.
Understood. Is there any possibility that the second party that you're filing paperwork with could take a report out of Concur as the backup?
No, they have their own
Mm.
forms and receipts that we have to send to them.
It's yeah, kind of like the foundation does too.
Yes. So that's why I was only asking, because if I don't have to put, additional lines and have additional steps in Concur, because she's not asking for any reimbursement through them, then that will save me steps, because I'm then going to have to go back and do those steps for this other entity to get them to reimburse it. So I'm just trying to save time.
Right.
Mhm. And this
Now,
is for the, remember, this is the request. This is not the
Right.
expense report.
Right, which means after that, I still have to go back in and do
Yeah.
more steps for the expense. So that's why I'm trying to make it as simple as possible and only include and put in what I absolutely have to.
Well, let's say that you didn't put, third party is paying for hotel, air, and conference. And so your entire request just has mileage to the airport. I mean, if I was a department approver, I would be like, where are you going? This doesn't tell me anything, because the travel request, remember, gets approved for compliance to policy, but it also goes to the supervisor to say, can he be gone? Can that person be gone? And then it goes to the cost center approver to say, is that within our budget expectations? But even if, so somebody would look at a request and say, oh, he's driving down to the airport and claiming mileage. I don't see any request to go anywhere.
Now, I mean, the travel request is going to go in. So
Mhm.
remember, we have to get a travel approval. So that has to
Right.
go in. But I could just go in and put the dates and the destination of where they're traveling to and not add every individual report. So I would go in and say, on this date, they're leaving to travel to this airport. They're coming back from this date to this airport. But when I go to the expenses, if the conference is paying for her hotel, then I just would not put the expense of the hotel in there. I'd still put the flight or any other
Yes.
items that she would do it, but I would just leave
Mhm.
off the one item that she doesn't need. So they would still have enough information to see when she's leaving, when she's coming back, and anything else for her expenses. But if I don't have to add a hotel because they're paying for that, or if I don't have to add a flight because the conference is paying for that, then I'd rather not enter that line.
Well, I think Luke just answered this the other day on a help ticket, and it was if a conference organizer is picking up an expense, you don't have to add it to an expense report.
Okay, so I can leave it off. I don't have to enter it at all when I'm entering the
Yes.
travel request or the expense report, because I haven't gone through. I've
No,
done the
you need to
travel
have
request.
everything on a request so that they can see where he went and how long. It's a security thing on a travel request also.
Okay, so I
Right.
probably went ahead and entered expenses ahead of time in predicting them. Like you're saying, we're predicting them. I'm saying I don't have to add it at this prediction stage. The only thing I'll have to add it is the things that I know I'm going to come back through the expense report and ask for reimbursement.
No, you need to add it to the request and say that a third party paid.
So
But
I
on the
do have to put
expense-
everything.
Yes, on the expense
Mhm.
report, the expense report is for capturing costs, but it's also for reimbursement. Right?
Yes, I get it. So
I don't know,
have to
John,
put-
maybe we better clarify with Utsi.
Because I get what you're saying. One thing we put in first is the travel request for the travel approval. And during that travel approval, we're asked to put in the expected expenses, which, you know, you're saying everything, whether the flight is paid for by the third party or a hotel, I still have to put it under the travel request, knowing that she's not going to ask for expense report on it. So I still have to enter those extra line items. Then I'm going to come back through the expense report. I'm going to go through those steps in addition to the travel request I already did. But at that point, again, I'm just going to leave it off and not ask for them. So I was just trying to leave them off, period. So I get the difference between the travel request asking for the travel and the travel expense. I was just trying not to have to include those extra steps in the travel request, since they're not going to be included in the travel expense. That's what I was asking. But if it has to, if you just have to enter every single item just because that's the way it needs to be done, then I'll do it. I was just trying not to if I didn't have to.
Yeah, no, I know. It's like, oh, then you got to go to and fill out forms for the other institution that paid for the travel. But
yes. So
And Michelle, you're going to create the expense form from the approved request. So those lines should already be there.
right.
You're not going to be adding them. So at this point, yes, I'm going to reach out to our resident controller and auditor and ask that question. So if there's clarification down the road, we'll put it out in the FAQs.
Okay.
At this point, I would include everything on there. So I'm thinking if I'm going to ask this of an auditor, they're going to say, well, the request should match the expense regardless of who's paying for it. You know, if I have $1,000 on UMB and $500 on a third party paying that, they both go up in the system, so the totals match. Okay, but I'll ask Jen right now, and if
he's going to ask Jen right now. Okay.
Yep.
Well, and it's confusing, and also there are 1,000 circumstances. I thought I heard in the Concur project testing that everything on a request should also be on the report, and the report would just have no reimbursement for that item. And here's what John said also is important. When you pull the approved travel request into an expense report, the stuff that they didn't pay for is going to be there. And you would just make sure that those lines say third party payment.
Okay.
So you're not re-entering, you don't re-enter it.
Okay, so next question is if you're saying each item has to match up on the request versus the expense, previously before using Concur, I didn't get an actual invoice of her hotel because she didn't pay for it, right? Because it all went through the conference, didn't need the receipt, didn't have to attach it to the travel request because it wasn't being asked to be expense for. So if we're now putting all those expected, all the expenses that are incurred, regardless of who's paying for them, am I then now going to have to request a receipt for that hotel if it's not being paid for, so that those expenses actually do show?
No.
It'll just use the expected of whatever we estimate it's going to be, and we won't have to have a receipt.
Yes. I mean, I shouldn't say no or yes. Because if there's a hotel on an expense report, that expense type probably needs a receipt. So let's just wait till John hears from Jen to answer that.
See, those are the things, like when she gets things covered by the conference, I don't get a receipt. Only when she pays out of pocket and requests reimbursement from them. But there's things that they pay for and it never gets processed through her credit card or anything for me to get a receipt. So I would then have to make an extra step to reach out and get it.
But if it's on the request, what I'm telling you is it's going to flow into the expense report. And then you would just be like third party payment.
Right. But what I'm asking for is am I then going to need that receipt to attach? Like you said,
we're going to find out.
Okay.
John's going to ask. Okay.
I'm sorry I'm creating all these questions.
No, it's fine. I mean, they also could be on these FAQs under expense reports. Remember this page?
Yes.
Okay.
I will stop asking questions and I'll check to see if
no, it's totally fine. No, it's fine. I'm going to put this in the chat. It's totally fine. That's why we have class.
Oh, don't worry. I bookmarked that. I bookmarked that as soon as you put it up there. So I have that link.
Well, I taught classes from November all the way through April. And that's all those FAQs, that's where they came from. So you're not going to be the first person that says, you know, what do I do in this situation? Okay, we only have about 20 minutes left, and I want to get you through as much as we can. So I'm going to point these out to you, and we won't have time to go through them. Creating an international travel request form. When you are booking international, you should probably, when you are creating, an international travel request form, you should probably be booking type agent assist. Okay. It's just cleaner if something happens when you're overseas or in Africa. The travel agents are the ones who can modify your flights and help you out. All right. So for international travel requests, you can book in Concur. You're just going to Montreal and coming home. That's easy. But how about when you're going to Kenya, right? And having multiple flights, then it gets trickier, and the agent assist is your best bet. And then the rest of it looks just like a travel request. I am going to show you one more thing. So for international, we're not going to go all the way through this, but what I want to show you is that some of this stuff, visa or passport fees have to be attached to an international travel request. We do not do visa or passport fees as a business expense. Okay, so they have to be included in an international travel request. So that is important to remember. International regional travel. You can book airfare at regional airports while you're traveling among cities and countries. So, but your destination but your departure airport and arrival airport has to be the United States. Okay, so I go to Kenya. My first flight is, BWI to, I don't know, I guess Kenya International Airport. And then from Kenya, I go to 4 more little countries that I can't really book online because the airports are regional and I have to actually go there and purchase the ticket with shillings, right? And so I can add multiple countries to an international request, but you can also skip the little regional ones, and as long as your departure and arrival are a U.S. city. Now I have a special training topic called International Travel Requests with Regional Travel Included. Okay. So use that if you get in one of those situations where they're going to be booking multiple. I'm going to very quickly go through this header because the thing that I want to show you is important and everyone is forgetting this. Okay, here you are. You're going to start a trip to Interlaken. This is international. You already start out with a warning. You didn't even do anything. You already start with a warning. A yellow triangle is a warning and it does not stop you from anything. You can submit this. It's not an error. That red stop sign, right, with an exclamation point in it, that is an error that will prevent you from submitting. But a yellow triangle won't. But when you do international travel, you start out with a warning. So I'm going to pop it open and show you. The trip type for this request is international, and it should have a risk acknowledgement form attached. And that form is now called the Travel Attestation Risk Form, and it's on the International Hub page, but you have to attach it. So this message is here to remind you of that right off the bat. So you always start out with a warning. You didn't do anything wrong. So I'm going to click add, and the first expense type that you're going to want to add on an international trip is called international trip expense type, right? I'm going to click it. It's not really tied to an object code. Look, there's no object code here. All this really is a series of questions. Does the travel involve travel to more than one country? Yes or no? I'll select no. Is the international travel attestation form attached? Click this, yes or no, right? Did you take security training within the last 3 years? They'll say yes or no, okay? And then you can leave a comment. So a lot of people are creating international trips and then requests, and they're getting stuck on an error because they forget to add this special expense type. And this expense type doesn't have any money attached to it. It just is an acknowledgement of some of the policies for international travel. Okay, so when I save that, look at, there's no dollars with this. It's just added because it needs to be. John, what was the question? What was the answer to that question?
The answer was, if the third party's paying for everything, then you wouldn't need to process an expense form because there's no expenses to be recovered. I understand that this is coming right from our auditor. So
Okay.
assuming that maybe they were paying for the hotel and the airfare and you would have incidentals, then you would have to fill out an expense form. However, there's no requirement to capture all of the third-party costs. It's up to each department if they want to cover that or not. The big audit thing is just duplicating payments and making sure we don't pay for something that someone else paid for, and a staff member benefits from that. So I put her exact answer in the chat.
Thank you. This is why it's great to have a subject matter expert in your class.
And these are new questions. These are things that have never come up, or they've been, very simple one way or another, not in depth like Michelle's asking. So this gives us the clarification too.
Mm-hmm. And, until people are actually using this, we don't really know what they're going to come up against. So
Right.
we went live April 10th, and now we're a month later, and we're understanding how many more things we need to tell people.
Yep.
Because they're
And
asking
Michelle,
good questions.
Michelle, does that help you out?
It does. If our department doesn't require them, because as you said,
Right.
before you were explaining like, oh, the auditor's going to need this, but you're saying now they said no. If the conference is paying for the hotel, then you don't need to capture that expense unless it's your department's requirement to do it for as far as they go. So
Yep.
I am going to not do it, by the way, until someone yells at me and goes, we're supposed to do it, because I don't want to create double work.
And Jen is the person that goes through a lot of the travel doing the audit. So she has seen everything. So if she's comfortable with this is the way it should be.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. All right. Now we're going to create a travel request when you are the delegate. So this isn't this is a travel request for one of your doctors, or it's a travel request for a non-employee. Non-employees do not have access to Concur. They will never be able to sign in. It's never going to happen. If you are an affiliate, you're not going to have a profile automatically created, but we will create one for you. How did all these people get in Concur in the first place? It was a feed from HR for every employee that's on this campus, right? So we were all automatically loaded into Concur. Me, you, John, Michelle, who's asking quite good questions. We all got in Concur through the magic of an HR feed. Affiliates, no, they're not in there. If you're not on our payroll, you weren't added automatically. Now, non-employees can also travel, and non-employees, again, do not have a profile. So you have to fill out a user authorization form, and you have to say, I need you to set up John Doe in this org. I will be the travel admin, and John Jensen will be the delegate who will do his work. And they will go into the system and manually create a profile for John Doe. And and they will manually add John Jensen as his delegate. And then John Jensen logs in a day or two later, and he's able to work as John Doe. Okay, so that's the process. All right. When you have a traveler delegate, you decide if you create a delegate, what that delegate can do on your behalf. So we've had recently doctors and faculty creating a delegate for themselves, like Michelle. Oh, I want Michelle to be my delegate. But all they really did was say, it's Michelle. And they didn't tell the system, Michelle can create travel requests for me. Michelle can create expenses for me. Michelle can book my travel, right? They just said Michelle, and then they closed the system. And we've had lots of help desk tickets where someone says, I'm a delegate for whoever, and there's literally no tabs on his screen to work from. So remember, in profile settings, when a delegate is selected, you are also telling the system, what can that delegate do for you? And here's what you want the delegate to have. Create your requests, create your expenses, maybe book your travel, right? But also receive your emails. So if Michelle submits a request for a non-employee, Michelle will also get the email that says this request was rejected, right? Otherwise, she's just sitting around not knowing what happened. So there are a couple pieces to setting up a delegate. And on this business application page, I'm just going to go back to it, to the training section. There is a really handy setting up your delegates. Okay, setting up your delegate. And you can give this to your administrator, your doctor, your faculty, and say, if you need me to book travel for you and create your requests, you have to set me up as a delegate for requests and expenses, and you have to set me up as your travel assistant if you want me to be able to book. Okay, so these two cheat sheets, they're only a page long. All right, will help you understand how to do all that. All right, so let's see how this works. These are the exact same steps, whether I'm acting as a delegate for an employee or for a non-employee. So the type doesn't matter when I go to create a request. All right, if you're acting as a delegate for an employee, you'll be able to create travel requests, booking, expense reports for any employee whose traveler profile designates you as a delegate. Let me ask you a question. You need to create travel requests for me. Do you need to set up your profile saying you are my delegate? Or do I need to set up my profile saying you are my delegate? Which way do you think it is? Does it fall on the delegate to say I'm a delegate for Laura? Or does it fall on Laura to say John is my delegate? The second one, you're right. So here's the issue we're having on campus. People are telling their doctors and their faculty and other people that they work for, hey, you have to set me up as your delegate. And the person's like, I'm too busy. You do it for me instead. You can't do that. If they're an employee and you're an employee, he has to do it, right? So you have to somehow get them to sit with you for 10 minutes and get the delegate set up as you and get it done correctly, okay? It's just a stumbling block we are having all the time out on the campus. And I'm not criticizing any of these people, but they aren't used to doing any of this, okay? Now, if you're a delegate for an employee, John and I are both employees. if I am John's delegate and I'm going to create travel requests for him, I cannot submit the request. I'm going to click a button called Notify Employee, and that request that's finished is going to go over to John, and he's going to open it and he's going to click Submit. Okay, the employee traveler has to log in and submit it. If I'm acting as a delegate for a non-employee, and that includes an affiliate, a recruit, or a student non-employee, I can submit it. The difference is non-employees cannot log into Concur. Employees can log into Concur. So employee logs in to submit it. Non-employee, the delegate submits it for them because they can't log in. All right. Okay, I'm going to go to profile. And I have this little section called acting as, right? Right now I'm acting as myself. But if I click this radio button, I want to act as a delegate for another user. As soon as I do that, I can click in the search field and the name of the people who have designated me as their delegate will show up. Okay, their names will show up. So when the doctor or the faculty says, I already made you my delegate, and you're like, okay, that's funny. And you go to profile and you click act as, and you start to type John Smith, that's your doctor's name. And he does not come up. Guess what? He didn't do it correctly, or he didn't do it at all. And again, I'm not busting out doctors. I'm just saying this has happened over and over since Go Live. So you're going to have to educate whoever you're a delegate for on how to do this properly. So I came in here, I clicked profile. I'm going to select act as a delegate. And then in the search, I'm going to select the name of the person that I'm a delegate for. So I'll click non-employee and I'll click switch. And now look at the top in the right-hand corner, it says acting as, this is a test person, right? But mine up here might say acting as John Jensen. Okay. Now I'm going to start a request. Again, here's the booking types. And this is just a regular old request. You're going to fill out the header. Where is John going, or the non-employee going? Is it an in-state trip, out-of-state trip? What's the purpose of the trip? Okay. You're going to complete the header. You'll come out to this screen and you're going to click add, and you're going to add all of those expense types, right? That are necessary. You're going to add any attachments. And then when you are done, so I just built a travel request for a non-employee. When I'm done for the non-employee, I'm going to click submit request. Okay. If I'm a delegate for an employee, I don't have submit. I have gotten multiple questions and multiple help tickets that say, I'm not able to submit this request. I'm stuck, right? Well, the only option is notify employee, and for an employee, and you'll click notify employee, and this will go to Alina, for example, and Alina will open it up and submit it. Okay. For a non-employee, you'll have submit request. For an employee, the button will say notify. Okay. Now I'm done. I notified the employee. The last step is to stop acting as that person. So I'm going to come right back up to where the profile is and click it, and then select act as myself, and then click switch, and I'm back to working for myself. The number one mistake people are making, there are two. people are delegating their functions down to someone and they're not doing it properly. Okay, that's one thing. The other thing is that a delegate will start acting as someone, put in the request, forget to stop acting, and the next three requests are all for that original guy that they were acting at first. That's an easy mistake to make. Non-employees are referring to those not employed by UMB. Our residents are employed by UMMC. Residents are non-employees, yes. Residents are non-employees. Remember this type, I probably don't have it open. I'm gonna open one quickly. And I wanna just get to this point. There you go. Okay. Oh, employee other, resident postdoc fellow trainees. That's what this says. They would be under this category, employee other. Okay, we did not get through as much as I wanted to get through today. And we have 1 minute left. So I want to encourage you to read these using the third-party payment method. Combining business and personal travel. This is a good one. It shows you how to say up front, yeah, there's some personal travel, and make the dates of your trip include personal travel. And then you'd add all the expense types that you would normally add, but then you would acknowledge that, oh, the last 3 days in the hotel are on me, not on UMB. My wife and I stayed over the whole weekend. So here's the price of what it would have cost to fly home Thursday, like I was supposed to. And here's the price of what it costs to fly home Sunday with my wife. Okay. So combining business and personal travel. There are 2 on how you allocate funding. Allocate funding sources by percentage. Allocate funding sources by dollar amount, right? So remember, in the header, here's the header, okay? In the header, in this funding area, this is your funding source. So you can say, well, I want, 70% of it to go to this default funding source, but then 30% should be charged to another SOPF or a sponsored project. A question I had last week. We only have $300 left in the budget for XYZ. So when I put in a travel request for $1,500, I need to change the funding source. How do I do that? All right. Well, you allocate to your home funding source or the funding source that you want to pick up the tab. So this is in the header, and we call this really the main funding source. Okay. But you don't have much money there. So you could, for example, you could select them and allocate differently. Part of it is going to the default, which is the funding source in the header, and then you could add another SOPF. I'm just adding SOPF segments. Okay, and split the funding. So part is the default, that's the header, that's the header SOPF, and anything you add, you could say 50%, 30%. You can add multiple SOPFs or sponsored projects here. All right, and all you really have to do is select the ones that you want to allocate, and then click the allocate button and split it up. I'm sorry we don't have time to go through these. This isn't hard to do. And again, put in a help ticket and I'll help you. I'm going to stop the recording.